I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us. What's up, Tamika Mallory? How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well,
Okay.
I'm excited about today's show.
Your hair looks nice.
Oh, thank
nice
you. Yeah.
Hairdo.
You know what? I try. I literally attempt at wearing hair, my own hair covering most of my bundles, because you know I do wear bundles. And
Yes.
I love my bundles. But it doesn't work. So I just get my braids back because it's just too much. Like I am incapable of managing waking up, fixing hair, getting makeup, putting on clothes, getting
It's
on
tough being a
time.
woman.
I'm incapable of managing it all. So anyway, but I do want to tell you this one thing about what I learned recently. I learned that what I thought was potentially me going a little bit deaf, like hard of hearing, was just that my ears were compacted with wax.
Oh, yeah? How did you figure that out?
Because I went to the doctor. For real. I really was having, already in this ear, in my right ear, I don't hear as well as I would like. And by the way, in my family on the serious side, we have a number of people who are mute. So they're deaf and they don't speak. Of course, you know, I don't know anybody that's deaf and they speak. I guess that's the thing I never really paid attention to. When I think about it, I do have family members that speak a little bit, but they definitely don't hear well at all. They can hear a little bit and speak a little bit. But anyway, that's another day's story. But there are several people in my family that have hearing impairments, and that's their situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, this ear has always been that way. But I started to notice it on this side where I was kind of like, just sort of like I was struggling and having to turn things up really loud. And so I decided to go to the doctor to find out if I'm losing a little bit of hearing on this side. And it really was just compacted with wax. So I just want to tell folks. And the reason why is because my canal is very, very, very small. So when I clean my ears, which you know, I don't play around. Everybody knows me. If you know me, I washing everything down. So it didn't have anything to do with, and for anyone else who is experiencing it, it has nothing to do with being, unclean or unsanitary. It has to do with when you're cleaning it. And I don't use Q-tips because I had learned a long time ago that you really just push things down in there more. But even when you're using your cloth to clean out your ears, still things go down in the ear canal. And mine was impacted, and they had to use all of these things, all this equipment to clean it out. And I hear well. I can hear things that I don't even know if I'm supposed to be hearing.
I actually had a similar experience. And my ear canal is very small, too. So when they was telling me that my thing was completely clogged and it was like one little piece of wax like this big. It wasn't that big, but my ear canal is so small.
Nah.
So
what came out of mine?
Yeah, I had one piece like this. It was like a little ball of wax.
Well, let me just tell you. I took a picture of it, which of course, no one else will ever see it. What came out of mine, you would almost think I was nasty because it was rough. Mine was impacted terribly. They pulled things out that wax out, that as they were pulling it, it hurt me. So it was that impacted, very severe. So I'm just, for folks that are out there, they might
get
feel
your ears clean.
It's TMI, but get your ears clean because and I think a friend of mine text me, and I need to go back and read what she said. I read it and I skimmed over it, but I think she said that her father thought he was losing his hearing, and then he went and found out, and she was like, I did read it. She said that they were really dealing with hearing loss, seriously, and there was nothing wrong with him except it was wax in his ears.
Yeah, that's the thing. As a musician, we create more wax because
really,
wax is like protection for the ears. That's what it is. It's it protects you from sound and things going in your ears. So sound, when you constantly have headphones and stuff on, it creates more wax.
Well, my Apple Watch when I'm in certain environments, it tells me that it's too loud and you might lose your hearing. Like in a restaurant, because I don't like loud, I don't understand. And I should have made this my TMI, but
Well,
I'm
you know what?
actually going to
I'm
move
glad you said that
on.
because it was something that I seen that my phone does now that is very crazy to me.
What?
The phone is telling you what's in the picture.
What? What do you mean?
Listen to me. If you send somebody a picture,
Mm.
Siri tells you there's a picture of a woman and a man holding this in
Whoa.
a car and all. Like
That never happened to me.
literally, I'm telling you, I couldn't believe it. Like, cause I had my headphones on, so somebody sent a picture and then it described what was in the picture.
That never happened to me. It does tell me about the text
Did that ever
message.
happen to you, Jen? I'm telling you, some new. I couldn't even. I said what?
Well,
So now they see your pictures and all of that. But that's crazy.
well,
Like,
but you know what? You know what has happened to me? When it tells you your text message, like, oh, such and such texts you this and it reads to you, right? And then I'm in a conversation. I would never forget. One day I was in a conversation. Someone texted me.
yeah,
No, someone
and it
texted
types
me.
your
And
response
I
like you
was
having a conversation.
telling my dad, oh my Lord, crazy so and so is texting me about da da da, and I'm tired
And
of
it
it, blah blah
wrote
blah.
it.
And the thing was right and everything. And they asked me,
Do
would
you
you
want to
like me to
send?
send this? And I said, no, 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 don't send. Abort mission. The phone has a lot, but
It
the
does a
but
lot.
the sound on the watch brings me to a thought, and it really should be my thought of the day, but it's not because I have something that's more serious. Why do they have the music in the restaurant so loud that you can't hear the person that you're out to dinner with? Like what?
It's
It
for the
doesn't.
youth.
No, no, not even. It's
I'm
not
telling you
even
because when I
youthful.
was young, I didn't mind loud
Yelling?
music. At 20 years old, 20 when I was in the club, it's if it wasn't loud, I felt like I wasn't partying. So I think what's happening is you're going into
No,
places
I'm
that's for
saying
the youth.
dinner, dinner.
Yeah,
No, dinner.
once it after 9 o'clock, that's when they turn up. You got to
No,
go.
but
I'm
that
telling you,
doesn't
you got to
make
go to the
sense.
brunch spots,
When you're
the older
sitting
brunch
when you're
spots, and all
sitting
that.
across the table at dinner with somebody, you should be able to hear them
These
back and
kids
forth the
don't want to hear. They want to
conversation.
hear the
But
music.
they
They want
always
to
on their
yell.
phones. And I
Exactly.
appreciate there's a restaurant now that's giving people a bottle of wine to not be on your phone. Like if you give them your phone, they give you a bottle of wine for free. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Because sometimes you do need
Incentivize.
a reason to stop. I just have been paying attention to and really writing a note, keeping a note of all the things that's happening around the DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as what I believe are direct attempts and very intentional and strategic attempts to destabilize Black institutions and really our communities. And certainly all the things that so many people have fought to make sure we have opportunities. And so I just been taking notes because I've been in these arguments back and forth with people who have told me we don't need any of that. We don't need any of these things. So we already know about the Fearless Fund. We've been talking about the Fearless Fund and how these women started a fund that is specifically focused on giving monies to Black women to build businesses. And now they are being sued, and the Supreme Court just might come back and say that what they are doing is illegal and that they no longer can support, and that the money that these Black women have raised for their own community is going to have to be distributed to other communities if they want to stay in business. Okay, so that's one. Then the state laws in many states around the country are banning DEI programs on college campuses. So now students will no longer have the ability to go to diversity, equity, and inclusion offices and have programs that focus on allowing these students of color, and particularly Black students, and of course women, access to these colleges. And of course, many of those campuses that have DEI programs have opportunities for jobs, right? Like black people to be able to show up and work on college campuses and bring their learned experience to the students. So that's very important that you have people who look like you on college campuses that are able to help you prepare for the real world
Culturally
as
competent, yeah.
cultural competency. Exactly, right? Very important. Then the United States Supreme Court has announced that they will not hear a case that basically stops these states from being able to ban mass protests. So in Louisiana and Mississippi and Texas, where we already know the history specifically of those states in terms of their racism, in terms of their intentional activities around oppressing Black African American people. We already know. We don't have to talk about Mississippi. We know the history of Mississippi and Texas and Louisiana. Well, they now have passed laws that would ban the ability for people to plan mass protests. And the Supreme Court has said that they will not hear the case that would stop that from happening, that would protect protesters and people who want to express their First Amendment right to gather and to push back on the system for whatever they're upset about. This is not just Black Lives Matter protests. We're talking about women's protests. It could be anything. It could be against gun violence. It could be whatever. They're now saying in those three states specifically, that is not legal. Then we know already that women's right to choose under attack. We already know what's happening there with these states that have passed laws to ban women from being able to get abortions and also contraception. So check this out. You can't get an abortion, but you also can't get the birth control that you need to keep yourself from getting pregnant so that therefore you don't have to get an abortion.
That's crazy.
Okay. Let me keep going. There's one more thing. The U.S. House of Representatives used to have an Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Gone. They have now pulled the funding and disbanded that. All right. Now, here's my thing. Someone said to me, well, we just don't need those programs. It's time for us to build our own. Show me. Show me how.
Show me the mechanism that
I want to see. And I am not saying.
But you know, the crazy part is who made us believe some shit? Like, why? How do black people, when we look at the numbers, you can see the data, you can see all of the data, and it shows you that this mentality that we don't need it is not factual. It is not factual. It shows you that pretty much it's like somebody owns everything, and then tell you got to figure out how to get your own. And we don't have to put you inside of ours. We own all this shit. We got all the land. We got all of the businesses. We've created this on your back. We didn't give you anything, but now we telling you, look, we don't have to make a way for you. We don't have to include you in none of these businesses that we created, these corporations that we created. We don't have to
even
give
on
you
college campuses. We don't even have to.
We don't have to make sure to accommodate you. You just got to you got to figure out how to get out that mouse hole. And we own all this shit, and you just got to figure out how you get your own.
But
it doesn't make sense.
Here's my thought of the day here. When I listen to people who say we don't need these things and we can build our own, I respect and understand the concept of it, right? That we should build our own businesses, right? That we should have our own institutions. But I thought that's what black colleges are. And guess what? We just came from TSU. We just came from a college, Tennessee State University, where the funding that is supposed to come from the state to help these colleges build STEM centers and make sure that their students have the proper housing and that they would have the proper resources so that they can compete in the global world. Because there's a difference between being able to compete in Tennessee and being able to compete with people who are coming from China and Germany and here, there, and the other. There's a total difference there, right? So the government is supposed to provide funding. But they have now, in many states, Stop doing that. Been doing it. Been holding hundreds of billions of dollars from getting to the black colleges that you say build your own. So people built their own, and yet still we are unable to get the resources that are due to these institutions to get to our people. Okay. So now, right? Okay. Feel is Fun is trying to build its own, build their own people. They're trying to give money specifically to black women to build businesses. Okay, now let's talk about the Tulsa situation, the Tulsa massacre. This is yet another time in history we built our own. They blew it up. So if the concept, because I know some of the brothers from the Nation of Islam will say that part of it is separation, right? Like separate and do, okay, cool. I want people to tell me, how are we going to get millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of our people out of housing projects, out of local communities, and get them from where they are right now. And I'm not talking about, because that, what you're saying, separation, it's a lot that goes into that. Even if let's just say I'm 100, and I'm not pushing back on their theory either, because I think everybody has a theory that if you bring it all together, it actually might make sense, right? But what I am trying to explain to people is that you have to have a both and. You cannot allow the government, corporations, educational institutions all at the same time to withhold resources and opportunities from our community and then talk about we just going to build our own. So are we going to allow our people to die while we're building our own? Because if our people don't have jobs, can't go into a bank and get a loan for their business, they can't even get money from two black women that built a fund to help them build their businesses. How are we going to survive?
Because it's not really logical. Right, the concept of building your own, when you say it, it makes sense. But in the real grand scheme of it, you can't build your own within a system that everything is already built.
Right. So that's why they say separation.
So that's but when you say separate, what are you separating with, and where are you going when you separate? Because we don't have our own. Right, so when we look at every other nationality,
well, we have $1.4 trillion that we spend, but we don't spend it with ourselves.
Exactly. What I'm trying to tell you is, unfortunately, we don't have one culture in which we all identify under. They stripped everything from us. So when you look at the Asians, they have one culture, right? When you go to Korea, every place the Asians are, they have a culture, and they feed that culture. They build that culture every day. Is known to them. Even when you look at the Latin Americans, they have a culture. They build their own. They come here and they go back to the Dominican Republic and they build up the Dominican Republic. They send things back to Africa. The Africans here, they send things back to Africa and they still build it. We don't have black America. We don't have that.
Well, they stripped it from us in so many ways, and I know we have to
because a lot of us believe that we're from here.
But I just want to say, we built this nation. In the words of our dear sister Angela Rye, we built this nation for free. Right? And so I want us to be very careful, because I understand the concepts that people are tired of trying to integrate into. As Dr. King told Harry Belafonte, I fear that I'm integrating our people into a burning house. So I'm all for the idea that we've got to have our own, but I want people to look at what is happening around us and understand that you cannot just say, we're just going to drop the ball over here and allow them to systematically dismantle our communities and things that people have fought for. And then over here on this other side, we're going to just build this new thing. Because basically what you are saying is that everybody should, this is my own little example that I really have been working with. What you are pretty much saying is, move out your house onto the street with nothing. Take all your shit, put it on the street while I build you this other house. No. Anybody with good sense knows that while you're building your other house, you still need somewhere to live. You still need food. So you saying, okay, forget those schools, so your kids are not going to be educated for the next several years until you finish building these other things. It doesn't make sense. So the last thing I'll say on this is that what we need to stop doing is trying to discount other people's ideas and concepts and other people's struggles and know that we are in one fight. So if in this one fight, I'm over here saying we must continue to have DEI practices and make them better. A lot of people were so upset with Charlemagne because of what he said around DEI being trash. I don't know if I would use the word trash, but I understand his point is that even with DEI policies in place, they don't always work and they don't always transfer into our people, like building wealth for all of our people. It's just a few people that get in good positions, and that's it. It is not working the way that it should and the way that it was intended. So, there's so much more to be said about this, and I think we really should make sure that we take the time to go over all the details in another episode. What I'm just saying is that we cannot throw out the baby and the bathwater. We really have to be very, very careful about what we are saying in this moment. And yes, we need DEI, we need programs, we need resources, we need all the things, and we need to be focused on building our own, but we need to stop telling people that are out there making sure protesting and raising the issues around this very intentional attempt to destabilize our communities. We need to stop saying that those people are wrong or that they're focused on the wrong thing. So that's what I want to say about that, and I think there is more to be.
It's a lot more, but like you said, we'll talk about it on another.
We need to build another whole show around this idea. So, doing too much. So let me tell you, I heard this really sad story that really pissed me off. And then I heard that Ebro has been talking about it on the radio as well. And it is that in New York City, folks who have Easy Pass, or maybe they don't have Easy Pass. I don't know if it's that I don't know. I guess they use your license plate now. So when you go through the toll, if for some reason, like I know one person, the Easy Pass wasn't working properly and they didn't know. So they thought it was on automatic, but something happened and it wasn't. Another person just didn't pay their Easy Pass ticket, the bill, right? Mm-hmm. Is it a ticket? What do you get?
It depends though. If you have an Easy Pass, then they send you a bill. So what happens is the Easy Pass, either you can have a prepaid.
Right, I have replenish.
If you have a replenish thing, boom. But that's a scam there too, because after a certain amount, they raise your threshold, and then what they do is if you have an average of like $100, they'll raise your threshold to $250, right? And then once you go past $100 or you get to $200, then they raise it to $300 or $400.
Oh no!
So they be
taking
they do
it on their own.
On their own.
Wow. So
and if you don't do it, and then what happens is, and if you don't replenish it, what they do is they start raising your threshold on their own, and then they say you can't put less than this amount of money. So they got a scam. This shit is a
but
real big scam.
But the real thing is this story that I heard from this young lady is that I guess she didn't pay it, and $1,100 of Easy Pass tickets, whatever you call them. I don't know the language, but Easy Pass not being paid. The fee is $7,000.
That's crazy.
So $1,100 of her not paying the Easy Pass, whatever so I guess she went through it and it was calculating, but she didn't pay it. They're charging $7,000 in fees. So the total was $8,000.
That is unbelievable.
To get the boot off of her car. And supposedly something similar happened to Ebro. So what I'm saying is New York City is doing way too much. And I don't know if it's the Port Authority. So that's not really New York City. It's like New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut somehow all mixed up together.
There's no way. They could keep the car.
It has to be
I'm going to give you the car if I got to pay it.
That's predatory.
Nah, that's crazy. Unbelievable.
It is predatory that the fee could be so much more.
It should be unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional.
It is. I mean, I can't see how that even makes sense. Like, that's really robbery because people can't afford that. That's the average person that has his regular car and he's has his
who is
bills.
making what are y'all talking? I want to see where the $7,000 goes.
I don't. So my music segment today is an artist by the name of Tef, and he has a song Go to his Instagram page. Is at Tef TEFSAME gang.
What?
Tef same gang. At Tef same gang. So it's TEFSAMEGANG.
Oh,
And
oh, Lord, I gotta get it right. I want to make sure I say it right. So it's Tef, same gang.
yep.
Mm.
And the song is about black women, and he's talking about, the battle between black women and black men, and he doesn't like that, and he wants you to feel loved, and there shouldn't be division between us. And it's a dope song. So shout out to Tef. He sent me this video, and I posted it on my page. You can see it on my page, but it's a dope video.
So this series, Bonding of the Sexes, I thought it was so important, right? We've been talking about the battle that's out there. And I think a lot of it is being exacerbated by social media, but it also, in my judgment, has a lot to do with sort of the trolling and the bots online that are designed to make our communities look like we just in disarray. And I think we have to be real intentional about making sure we show all sides. And yes, there are some areas where we don't agree, where men and women struggle. There's tensions, but there's tension. But that exists in every community. And of course, for whatever reason, social media and media in general gives this impression that we're just totally not on the same page. And I really love how even in your music segment, you talk about Tef being someone who is attempting to try to bring us together. And so I don't even want to use the language battle of the sexes. I want to talk, even though we may talk about differences, still it is through us attempting to bond and understand one another that this whole series that we put together, that's what it's all about. And so for the next several weeks, we're going to be really sort of delving into the ins and outs of the relationships, the intimate relationships, and even the professional relationships and the movement relationships between the men and women of our communities, and how we learn how to deal with conflict and disagreement, and maybe find me a husband. Like that might happen in the midst of, maybe I'll understand more about myself. So today we've got a sister on. Man, I've been watching her lives and her show. And just I'm inspired, and then some days I'm not inspired. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be by myself because it just
It just ain't gonna work.
because it's just not gonna work for me. So Kendra G, a TV and radio personality, she was a host on 107.5 in Chicago, but she has since left that job to focus 100% on this new baby that we're going to be talking about so much today, which really kind of gives her the expertise to come and be a part of this Bonding of the Sexes series. Kendra G of Kendra G Singles. That's me. I need to be on the show.
Listen, now, I definitely want to pick up off of when you said find your husband. We're going to talk about that more because I want to know, do you really want to get married?
No, maybe not.
Really,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think that's what some women should be okay with, because I think a lot of women say, I want a husband, but do they think about, do you really want to be a wife? Like, a wife really is a job. Like, you are signing up to put everything second, career and your family, children, or whatever now trumps that. And I'm not a person that feels like you have to be married to be validated. But I think once people accept what they really want, then they'll understand why they keep attracting certain people in their lives. So that's why I said, do you really want to be a wife, girl?
Yeah, I mean, you know what I want. And first of all, thank you, Kendra, for joining TMI today.
We got this
So let's go back and start at the beginning. But I would say that yes, I definitely want a husband, but I don't know if I want a husband for the right reasons. And that's something that I'm checking in with. I want a husband because I believe that from my parents' perspective, right? I watch my parents, and my mom had a stroke, and now my dad is her caregiver, right? And she had been his caregiver all the way up to the point of her becoming disabled based upon this terrible, terrible health crisis. And I see that, I don't know if this is the right reason, but I see how they have been one another's solid rock. And I feel like as I get older, like what's going to happen to me if I don't have someone there that is like committed to me in that way? That's the thing for me. I don't know anymore about a whole bunch of things, but I do know that you're supposed to have a partner. So I'm trying to figure it out. But anyway, let's get started. Let's go
We'll go back to
backwards.
that.
Let's go backwards. Let's talk about your background because I want people to
Yes.
know that you're not just Kendra G singles. You started
No.
somewhere. So let's talk about who you are and how you got started.
Yeah, like I'm a 20-year radio and television veteran. I went to Hampton University, and like you mentioned, I was hosting a morning show in Chicago, and then COVID happened. COVID happened in 2020, and the world was shut down. And this is pre-mask. This is April. This is the world just got shut down. You can't go into work. Don't touch each other. Don't talk to your neighbor. We're still trying to figure out this pandemic that's going on. So we're really stuck in the house. And at that time, Instagram Live was like the go-to. Everybody was connecting still via Instagram Live. Shout out to D Nice. He had us dancing. So I was like, you know what? I was in a relationship and we literally broke up in the pandemic. And then I became like single. And because single and pandemic, I always equated to Will Smith, I Am Legend. It was like I had a dog, and that's literally, I can only be with my dog. And I was like, this is a lonely life. Let me go on live and see if I could hook up other single people that might feel like me. And literally that one night, it wasn't even the show. I didn't have this master plan. I was like, I'm just gonna go live and connect with other single people and give them a shot. But I knew the first night I would change my life forever because it had everything in the making to have a successful show. It had, first of all, you know, I come from media. It was regular people. It wasn't a celebrity. It's not a celebrity-based show, which was great for me because you guys know sometimes it's hard to get celebrities to do interviews. Now celebrities don't got to do interviews. They just go to their Instagram page and talk. So I love that it was regular people. I love that the audience was engaged. Either you can watch a person and like them and DM them, or you can leave a comment about what you thought. Right. And then you could just be yourself. And it was a chance for love. And now we just celebrated 4 years. Like I said, last year, I decided to quit my job. I live in Beverly Hills, California now.
Okay,
And
now
the
we
dating
see the
app is
background,
out.
honey.
It's gonna be, we're beta testing the dating app, Kendra G Singles. And May 7th, it will be available on my birthday to the world. Right now,
Oh,
we just
you a
have 1,000
tourist.
people.
Okay, you a tourist.
We try, yeah, with Taurus.
That's
Trying
right.
to take out Tinder one day.
Okay. You got big goals.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
goals. Yeah.
So what have you like has doing this show changed your perspective on
Absolutely.
relationships? Tell me
Absolutely.
something that you thought before that changed your perspective now.
A lot of women want the same type of guy. And it doesn't matter what kind of woman she is, whether she's in shape, not in shape, educated, not educated. She wants Idris Elba. She wants the tall, dark-skinned man that has good money, is going to provide for her and love her, be faithful, never see another woman a day of her life, give her good sex when she wants to have good sex, work a lot, but don't work so much because I need you to go with me to church every Sunday, be home at night, pay all the bills. And yeah, that's what she wants.
Mm.
And
But
what
you
we
didn't
know
think
is
that before? Before you thought that people
Well-
wanted a more diverse partner?
Well, Tamika, this is why it's kind of like you. You know, what I also learned is my average life is a 1% life, right? So for me, outside looking in, I didn't think it was far fetched because I live in a world of successful Black men, right? And attractive. Not all, they don't always want to get married, but that's my common world. What I didn't realize is that people who don't even live in that common world, they still want that man. So what's happening is like a lot of women are negating their options. The real life option is the option in your face. So when you go to the grocery store, when you go to church, when you go wherever you're going in your life, whoever that man is, whoever that woman is, that is your real life option. The internet has all made us connected. Right now, you guys are in New York, I'm in LA, so we're all connected via the internet. But for relationships, that can only last for so long. You know, if you want a real relationship, right? So are you going to move to this place? Can you make it in that new city if you do move for love? Like, how far are you willing to go? So I think right now people just want a fantasy instead of reality.
And I say that all the time. I say that, especially when I look at relationships. You know, one of my theories is that people are in love with the fantasy of a relationship and not the reality of the relationship, because
Yeah.
they have this, this ideology of what it's supposed to look like. My relationship's supposed to be like this. My man's supposed to be this way. He's supposed to look this way. He's supposed to go here. He's supposed to listen to what I say. He's supposed to always make me happy. He's supposed to, and then when the reality of the relationship happens and none of that is going right, nobody really wants the reality that comes with relationships. It's days you wake up, you don't want to talk. It's days he don't feel like talking. You got to see somebody. You got to deal with somebody at their best, at their worst. You got to, all of these things. And then the reality of it starts kicking in. And then you look in and you like, I don't even know if I want to do this, because this ain't what it was in my head. This relationship that was in my head is not the relationship that I'm in. And I see that happen with a lot of different relationships and people,
Yeah, but then when if if none of it, when none of those things are working, and it's kind of like, if none of it is working, then that might not be your person. Like,
No,
there
I'm
should
not
be
saying
some
none of the
good
things are
parts.
working. I'm saying when I think the reality of it is the fantasy of those things, right? The fantasy of, we gonna always be happy, everything's gonna be good.
Right.
Like, you the only person the man's ever gonna look at. All of these things, and when those little things start happening, it triggers a reality that people don't want to deal with in relationships.
What you think about
Right.
that, Kendra?
Oh, absolutely. See, what happens is on Instagram, most happy couples post their happy times, as they should, right? But it unfortunately sometimes it gives the illusion. Like, when you go to when back in the day when you go by a picture frame and you see this beautiful family, right? They're smiling, cheesing. You don't know what happened. You don't know if he lost his job one time and then the wife had to take over and hold down the family. And this is why he loves her so much, because she proved that when he had nothing, she would be there. We don't know if he has an outside baby and the wife just decided, I'm going to love him through it all and still say, Mary. All you see is the Hallmark card and you say, I want that, but you don't have the details. And
Exactly.
that's really the confusion. I always tell people on my show, get married mentors, talk to people who are married, because a lot of married people don't come online and always give all the bad, because they're going to be judged, right? Like, a woman comes up there, yes, he cheated on me and he has 2 outside kids, but I'm gonna stay with him because I love him and it's deeper than that. And I found a way to forgive my husband. She'll be attacked all day. You're dumb. Why'd you stay with him? So she's never gonna tell you that story on Instagram. And I don't think she should. But if you really want marriage, if you really want love, find some real life couples, and offline, they will give you the real. I know so many real stories. And that's why I think that I'm more enlightened, because I have friends that are married or in relationships, and I know the things that they have gone through. It looks great. Their family looks great, but I know the trials that they went through to get there. And something you said, Mysonne, that when you said they want the good times, but they don't want the bad times. They want you to have the money, always pay all the bills. They don't think about the scenario that you mentioned, Tamika, about your parents, about how now there's health conditions, right? And someone's taking care of the other. That's what really matters in the end. Like, when you're in your 20s, okay, if you want a guy in the club, okay, I get it. But your VIP section, 40s and up, is in your house. Who do you want to be in the VIP section in your house when you're 50? That's who you should start looking for your partner. Now, also, we're dealing in a situation where there's so many women doing well. Like, this is a situation where, like, a lot of women, like, you could go on, I say this all the time, women could become a millionaire by selling lashes, right? So now she got money. Logically speaking, I understand this woman wants a man that's either her financial equal or more, right? So now she only wants a man that makes more than her, or at least the same. But does that guy want you back? And does he want you back in the way that you want him? So then what do you do if that guy that you want doesn't want you back? Do you accept nothing? Or do you just keep going and saying, I'm not going to settle because this is what I deserve?
Well, so I'm just thinking about the framing of this series that we're covering, and we really are trying to look at Black folks and figure out, like, all the different working pieces, not just in intimate relationships, but just how we're relating to one another in general. And as I was saying when we opened the show, I feel like the internet and media in general is painting this picture of us as just being incompatible. Like you gotta either be, or at least, or at least look at the previous models or older models, and it's like we need something new, right? And maybe that's true. So polygamy has become a big topic now. And a lot of that is not just because people want to have sex with multiple women or men. Some of it has to do with the numbers, the clear numbers that there are not enough men, especially successful men that are able to financially provide for women and for Black women. And therefore, it becomes sort of one of the options is to bring multiple households together and bring all of your resources under one umbrella. And of course, there's that one man. And I think also as people are beginning to walk more in their truth, that, they're not on the down low as much as they used to. So now if you are a member of the LGBTQIA community and you're being honest and forthcoming about that, then that puts you in a different pool. So now a woman who's looking for a cisgender male, she can't find it in that person anymore. So now the pool it has shrunk, right? So with again polygamy, then you've got women who are saying, I got to date outside of my race. I now have to go to white men or other cultures to find a husband. Again, someone who's a good provider, someone that. So I'm wondering from your perspective, is it the internet that's showing us that, or is it just the reality of what we're really dealing with?
So the internet is against intercourse because the gift is it connects us all, right? And but you got to realize reality is individual for each person. So when a woman comes on the internet and says, you have to make at least 100K to date me, and her world is probably around 100K men. We know now that's not the average salary. So the man that can talk to her via the comment section is offended. And he's like, you're never going to get that guy because you're indirectly insulting him, right? Because he doesn't make 100K. When a guy says, oh, you got to be fit and feminine to be with me, let's say a woman's not fit and feminine. Now she's offended. So now she's in the comment section saying, you're never going to get that either. So what's happening is we're colliding different realities online. People you probably never talk to in real life because they're not in your real life, but you can have an online discussion. And that is where the debate is getting heavy. I think it's a lot of people that are unhappy. And you mentioned it earlier. Men have more options as in quantity. There's a lot of women who want to be in a relationship. Now, women have options, but there's not a whole bunch of options in the same type of guy they want. So there's men out there, but are they all over 6 feet? Do they all make over 6 figures? Do you find them all sexually attractive? So that's when the pool for women gets smaller because out of the 1,000 men, they probably really want 10. But all 10,000 women want the 10. That guy, he now knows it. He knows the guy that is 6 feet makes a lot of money and attractive. He knows he is desired. So when you mentioned polygamy earlier, that was something also a viewpoint that changed for me. I believe in just being honest, whatever you desire. I have met women who said they want a polygamous relationship. It's not always men looking for it. Women look for it too. And just like I accept, gay relationships, I accept that. That's what you desire, right? But you got to be honest with yourself and then living your truth.
Living your truth. Do you think that how much of a role do you think sex plays in like what we as women are looking for? Are we the ones that are more invested in that, or is it kind of like, I want it, but I'm not so worried, and it's more men who want to make sure that the person is sexually compatible?
Well, I think this is why I say talk to married folks, right? When you get older, I think sex is still important, but a lot of 50-year-olds and they're not having sex like, when you're 20s and your 30s, right? So we don't talk about that enough. And I think that's a really good conversation. I think attraction is important on both roles. Men want someone that looks good, and a woman wants someone that looks good. So that's very important. But I think sex is I want to bring up Sprinkle Sprinkle real quick. She has a movement going on, and she talks a lot about getting men with money. You should get a man that's a provider. And I'm not mad at her message, but I think that what some women miss to her message is she talks about money. She's on record saying she's not talking about good sex. She's not even talking about him being faithful. She's not talking about him being attractive. She's talking solely about getting a man that is going to pay your bills and a provider for you. So I think at some point in time, and I'm not mad at that either if that's what you want, but you have to know there's like the 80-20 rule. Maybe you might have good sex with one guy, but he don't make a lot of money. Or maybe the guy that makes a lot of money doesn't give you good sex. You got to make that decision for yourself.
It's a lot to unpack, but I mean it's real, you know, and just listening to the way that you've come to terms with, because I know that on your show it's a lot of different people and a lot of different people want a lot of different things. I've seen men up there. I've seen you looking at people, and I know it's hilarious.
It's
You know what I'm saying? It's everything on there. So what is going to happen with the app?
So the thing what I like about my show is because you get to hear from real singles people. It's like you'll never be catfished again. It's not. It's like our slogan is the app that gets to let you know the person beyond the photo. So it's one thing, and this has happened. I've had attractive men come on my show, and once they start talking, the women don't like them no more. Oh, he's a narcissist. Oh, he's because once they start hearing his beliefs, what he stands for, what he desires, he's no longer attracted to them. Then I've had men who they might be like medium, right? Like not really the finest man, but not ugly. But when they hear what his goals are and what he desires for a family, the women are like, oh, I want that man. Because it comes to a point in time where when you're young, all you care about is looks and having fun. But I think this happens a lot with women who have children. Sometimes they might have a child by a man and he's not a good father. And then now they call this the Russell Wilson situation, and I hate this because I really love Sierra and Russell Wilson, but they always say, "Oh, Sierra wanted a bad guy, and then she wanted the good guy." But that does happen a lot. I think sometimes when women become moms, their desires and what they want in a man shift. Now it's like, listen, I need a man that's going to be here, help me raise these kids, you know, because this is tough. I'm trying to raise children by myself. Well, the guy, I hear this conversation a lot. The guy that has the money, that can't take care of your kids, sometimes he feels like, oh, so you wanted to have a baby by the tall, 6-foot, dark-skinned guy, but now you want me because I have good character to help you raise it. You want me to take care of him because I wasn't good enough to procreate with, you know, because I didn't have the attraction level or the money level, but now you want me. So some men, I hear that a lot. A lot of men say that they're offended by that. And then women, you know, this is another curse of the internet. When you're watching another woman's life, right? Look what her man bought her. He took her on a trip. Oh, she got a car for her birthday. If you can't take me to Turks and Caicos for my birthday, you ain't the man for me. Because I saw this girl who I never met in life have all that,
and meanwhile she's in Turks and Caicos getting choked to death almost, and maybe even who knows. I mean, the storyline for what could potentially be happening to her is so devastating. And even what she may be doing to him, she may be making him miserable, you know, just pretty much sucking the life out, because we can do that. Some people in relationships can suck the life out of one another, right? Like just make you drained to even have to deal with you. I wake up in the morning and look at you and I'm just like, oh my God, you complaining, you nagging, or, you know, you always want to have sex and you're not even good at it, or, you know, whatever all the different issues are. And yet you still have to
That's
be
tough
with
right
this.
there, man.
No, I mean, it's true. It's listen.
No, it's tough.
There are people who feel like, especially women for the most part, I don't know, maybe men feel that way as well, that you have to satisfy the sexual desires of a person who does not even know that they don't know how to have sex. They don't even know. And Kendra, I often say in conversations that a lot of times the way we were taught, especially as women, to stroke the egos of men, to make them feel happy no matter what, never tell them that you need more or something different sexually. It has boasted the egos of people, of men, and made it unrealistic of what real good sex really is, which is pretty much mental, most of it, right? For us as women, that's where it really starts, and then it trickles down to the body. But because of the way that we allow men to think that, oh, just bang, 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 and then that's it, and you never even being pleased, but that's something that we were taught generationally, that's your job, just to be like a piece of meat. So I'm just saying that sometimes people are in relationships with folks and they're not even getting anything that they want or anything that makes them happy, but just to be able to get that rent paid, or just to be able to have a person in the house to take care of your kids, or just to be able, you just afraid to step out on your own. We would just deal with so much and not be actually genuinely happy. So I see that all the time. And I think that, like you said something that's so important, that the internet is only a mirror to people and like what's really happening, whether they are really miserable just as a person, or whether or not they are aspiring for something that they really don't even know they're not in that world. And that's true. A lot of people want something that they are not ready for mentally, emotionally, physically, or whatever, but this is their desire. And therefore, we have so many unrealistic expectations that is being designed by this device instead of your true relationships when you're like in your real world with real people.
There's a couple, so much you said I want to respond to real quick. First, again, these are allegations, so we don't know what really happened. But I always used to talk before Cassie made a lawsuit against Diddy. I'm not going to deep dive in that. I used to use her as an example because I would say, here's a girl who was literally with a billionaire and left a billionaire to marry a trainer, to marry a trainer who obviously does not have the money that Diddy has, right? So I would be like, what would make a woman, because women think that money makes you happy, have all these things. She was living this life. We saw her having dinner with Jay-Z and Beyonce. She's going to Fashion Week. She's going to Paris, like private jets. And the next thing you know, she leaves that amazing situation for what some would call a basic life. And then now, years later, we're hearing the allegations of what potentially could have went on in that relationship. So again, you never know what a person is accepting to live a certain lifestyle. That's one. Back to the sex. I say this all the time. The price of vagina has gone down. Like, vagina used to be sacred. You used to have to
the
work
price
for it, right?
of vagina has gone down.
Like, the vagina is like, the price has gone down. It's not as valuable no more. Men could get vagina very easily. So when that literally, ladies, is your, like, that's what men want, right? They want to have sex. They could get it without even being your boyfriend, let alone your husband. You sign up for situationships. It's like, what is your bargaining to? Like, what do you have to bargain? But men who can see past that, they appreciate women. Like a man who really wants a relationship and wants something more solid, he will be like, oh, okay, I just can't get it that easy. That makes him look at you different.
It's so funny you said
in a different category.
Because a friend of mine told her daughter recently that she said coochie used to be a dime a dozen, now it's a cent a dozen. Yeah. Okay, so you better find a different strategy, because marrying the rich guy and going to find a football player, and this young lady is very, very, very attractive, but now she's 35 with 2 kids. So you're not the same 26-year-old with no kids. Now you 35 with 2 kids and cute, which means that there is a pool of you, and they're looking, a lot of men, older men, I find they like the 25-year-old, the 26-year-old, the 27-year-old. Me and my old 44-year-old self, it's like people, I had a man say to me the other day, I know your DMs, it's going down in the DMs. No, it's not. It's not going down that much. I got some people in my DMs that are not mentally stable. That's what I have.
You're hard to impress though, Tamika. You gotta understand your world. Like you're around very successful men. You do well yourself. Like the guy, I think older would be better. So like 50 around that area, but a young 50, a guy that appreciates you are for our people. That's what everybody loves so much about both of y'all is that you guys are on ground zero when it comes to our people. So a man that will respect that, but I think a lot of men might feel like I can't afford her because do I have enough money to date her?
Mm, that's true.
You
They
know,
they
yeah.
might they probably can't. So
Tamika's
there's
very
that.
tough. She doesn't real. She's tough, and she's tough, very tough.
It's not
Yeah.
just being tough. I'm also very particular. And being particular is not something that everybody can deal with. But you know what? I love the fact that at this age that I'm at now, I'm 2 months away from, or less than 2 months away from 44. And now I'm finally in a space where I know what I want and need, and I'm not willing to negotiate it. So if for some reason that's not where you are, I get it, but I'm not even interested. And there are a lot of people with men having so many options, my needs and my wants and my sort of I don't want to use the word demands, they just not interested in that because they could go over here and get all the things that they want and not have to really put much in. So it's very difficult. Now, I'm not saying that there are not some men who have come to me and I believe that they are good guys. Like they're good guys, they have it together and they're doing all the things, but they still have, to me, a little bit of an arrogance that, sweetie, I don't need you. Like you need me. And that's never gonna
Oh yeah.
happen.
It's very. I just want to know, like, what what do you think? Is the dating scene good? Is it bad? Like, what are you seeing? Like, what are you
Oh,
really
it's
seeing?
horrible.
It's horrible, huh?
Oh
It's
yeah.
not. For the reason why it's horrible now, a couple things. So let's go back in the day, like the old school relationships with grandma and them. You know, grandma and them was dealing. She was dealing with stuff for granddaddy. Have you ever been to a funeral and then at the person's funeral, kids that you never knew of show up? Like this literally happened. I hope my dad doesn't get mad, but when my grandfather passed, my grandfather had 2 kids that lived down south that showed up to the funeral that my dad wasn't even aware of.
Mm.
And but obviously my grandmother knew, and that was just something back then because it wasn't, we didn't have the internet, right? So you might know your husband did something, but you just don't talk about it. You know, he's the husband in this household. He's doing right by this family. Yes, he did something out on those streets, but we're pushing forward. So now what happens is, so that's been going on forever. You know, that's nothing new. The newness is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you know, YouTube. Where now there's track records. So now as a woman, the whole world knows your man had a baby. How do you stay and still save face by the world, right? So that's one thing. But again, back in the day, if there was a cute guy in your city, all you had to worry about were the other cute girls in your city. Now you got to worry about the cute girls in all cities because now he's on Instagram and you're not just in what the word competition with the girl in New York. You're now in competition with the girl in LA, the girl in Atlanta, the girl in Florida because he's traveling, he got money, and they can access him via his IG DMs. But one thing I will say, this is one thing I have learned. People have a lot of situationship options, right? As in, there's a lot of options of people you can have sex with. Now, that is true. Men
Absolutely.
and women on both sides. But there's not a lot of options when it comes to if you really want a for real relationship. Like, this is my partner, which I want to go back to what you said earlier. The person that's going to be with me, if I couldn't work tomorrow and they're going to wipe my behind because I'm sick and I can't walk, You don't have a lot of those options. And if that's what you're seeking, then you'll be able to vet easy. The guy that you mentioned earlier, let him go. Yeah, if you feel like you got 10 options, you should have 10, because I'm not going to be a part of that roster. I'm fine with it. I'm
We
fine
love.
with it.
I love
And you're
hearing.
not even losing nothing either.
I love hearing you talk about this with so much ease, and we could talk forever. But you know, it's sort of it's almost like there's so many little pieces to the puzzle of finding your tribe, whether that be your man, your woman, your people at work, your people in your industry. There's so many pieces to it, and it seems like the negotiation of your wants and desires is something you have to really be in tune with. What are you willing to give? If it's the money because they are a good father, or if it's the whether or not they may not be as cultured, they go out somewhere and they like ghetto at the table, and you got to kind of teach them. Like, you really have to be able to negotiate all those things, and it's not easy, but hopefully your app and your show provides people with the opportunity, whether they participate or not, to just see and learn and kind of see themselves and make a decision about how they want to show up for the relationship that they're looking for.
Well, I would say this. I would challenge. I'm gonna talk to Black people how we know. We all know the game of spades, right? And dating really is like a game of spades. We all have been dealt different cards. You have to play your hand to the best of your ability. Don't worry about the next person's hand, because that's not your hand. You said something earlier. Everything shifts. Like, you could be beautiful, but let's say you got 2 kids. Now, that might be a 2 club in your hand that takes away. You have to learn your true dating hand. It's an individual game. It's not every Black woman has the same dating options. Not every white woman has the same dating options. Now all these white women are living with these. It's just not true. So learn your own dating hand and be okay with it. And if you don't like your hand, do the work to perfect yourself and become better so you can have better options. And think about companionship. I know everybody wants money, and I'm not saying you can't get money, but I love the Candy and Todd relationship. Candy obviously makes a lot of money. And I remember we watched that relationship play itself out on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Her mother wasn't a big fan of Todd because he didn't have the money. And Candy was like, I dated the men with money and they weren't faithful. I couldn't build a life with them. I'm happy. And now they celebrate their 10-year anniversary. 2 kids, living life together. And that's what it's about.
Well, Kendra, thank you very much. And I want to go on this app and see what's going on with this app. I love watching the show. You know, it makes me laugh a lot of times. Just your expressions when you having these conversations, they make me tickle.
Yeah. The world is crazy. I can vouch for it. I know for sure.
Well, you're out there in it. Thank you, and success, all the success
Yes,
to you
Queen. We
for what
appreciate
you're
you.
building.
Keep on going.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all for having me. And thank y'all for all that y'all do. Like, on a serious note, what I do, I think I am giving something to the world, but what you guys have given to the world and to our people, Black people, for being voices for us and not just speaking about it, but being out there. I mean, you guys will forever be loved by us, and we're so grateful for the work that both of you do. Like, we can't say thank you enough.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Queen.
sis. Thank you so much for joining TMI. You got to come back.
Yes, we're going to have you back later.
Back. Bye, guys.
Peace.
That was an awesome interview.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. I mean,
awesome.
y'all had I'm just paying attention. I'm listening to y'all because y'all had a lot going.
I feel like I get a little bit tongue twisted when trying to express what I see playing out and also my own experience. And I feel like she's so easy flowing with it because she's been doing it for a long time. Now it's 4 years. So she's really getting to learn people's characteristics and desires. And I hope that it translates into the app being more than just a singles app, but really something that helps people to have safe passageway to find love.
Well, I think
some
for
of these
me,
apps is a little crazy, by the way.
Oh, yes, a lot of apps that I see. I don't know how nobody does a dating app. I'm old school.
There are people who actually are happily married from
I hear
the
you.
dating apps.
I'm saying,
but there's also horror stories.
It's just too much for me. It's very weird. But
What?
Anyway, it's
You
just
can't
weird.
say that people being on a dating app is weird when
It's
that's the
weird to
only way
me
for them
though.
to find
I'm just saying for me, like I don't.
the person in New
Me
York.
saying I want to date somebody, me just going through it. For me, it's weird. It's not something for
That's
me.
because you don't even know. So okay,
I'm
keep
saying
going.
it's weird to me, but
Okay.
it might be dope. It's people like you said. It's people that get married on. I just think, just listening to her, she lives life on life's terms. She doesn't create alternate reality, and this is what I want. And that. She understands that this is what it is, and she's okay with that. This is what life is, and I like this. I don't like this. You like this. You don't, and I'm fine with it, and that's just it. And I think there aren't realistic conversations with a lot of people when you talk about relationships in life. So, but I'm interested to see.
To see how it develops.
I think a show is already,
Yeah, it's hot.
amazing. I
I
like
mean,
watching
people
it.
they be on there. It's
Oh
going
yeah,
down on her
it goes
show,
down
and
on
she's
it.
very funny, like
Hilarious.
comedy, definitely. And the
Hilarious.
people are funny. It's like, are they? I used to think it was curated. Like
I
she
remember it was
found these
one
people.
guy that was telling he was 20-something years old, and she was like, "No, you're not." And he looked like he was about 70. He was like, how old are you? And she's like
They
25.
lie. Yep,
And
they
she was
lie.
like, no, for real, how old are you? No, I asked your age. And he kept saying, he got mad, he was pissed off. Because she was basically saying, there's no way.
That you.
No way. It was
I
hilarious.
wonder, do you have to put your identification in? Like, do you have to actually prove your age and all of
I
that?
mean,
I would
we should
imagine.
have asked her that.
We sure should have.
But we will. We'll bring her back. We definitely got to have Kendra back. And that brings me to my I don't get it. Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news that's going on in hip hop. A couple of weeks ago, and it's crazy to me that nobody spoke about this. Sexy Red was at a school, and they wouldn't let her in for smelling like weed. And she got on the internet and she started talking about they won't let me in because I smell like weed. The kids want to see me, and she got outside her car and then the kids was waving at her and she was made a big thing. Now, first of all, I don't get why Sexy Red was at the school for the kids. I don't get that. But I don't get why she don't understand why they don't want you in the school smelling like weed, Sexy Red. You come into school smelling like weed and you thought that made sense? And you mad at the teachers? And you mad at the security? Like, I think, how did we get this far? I don't get how we got this far. Because I don't even understand the mentality. Like, you going to school with kids. Like, don't smoke that day. Don't smoke that day that you're
Or
going
at
to talk
least
to the
not
kids.
so much that day, but that
Now, before you go to the
in that
kids.
small time frame.
Yeah,
Of
just say, yo, you know what? I'm going to do something positive. I want to show up professional to let the kids see it different. I know I have this image that is not polished already, but I want to show something different. I want to give back to the kids. I want to inspire them to do something positive. Like, why would you want to show up smelling like weed to the school with the kids? Like, I just don't. I don't understand. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm old. But when I was young, I wouldn't have done no shit like that. And it's just, and I don't, and
but
it's,
you don't smoke weed, so.
but I wouldn't give a fuck.
But I'm just saying.
If I smoked weed, I wouldn't smoke weed going to the school with the kids. Like,
it's a
for
lot
what?
of people that we know that smoke weed and they don't care where they go.
Nah,
They
but
go
you
to
can't go to,
mama's house, they go
don't
to
go to the
hospital,
school with the
everywhere.
kids. If you know that you got to go and you're going to speak to the kids and the kids are going to see you, don't smoke weed going to the school.
I mean, no. I mean, at least you shouldn't be upset.
Yeah,
If
you're mad at the people.
If you are not allowed or not permitted on the grounds of a school because you smell like you've been smoking weed, I agree with you. I also think, though, that Sexy Red is young, right? So these young kids do a whole lot of things that it doesn't make sense to us, right? And I can see how in her mind, I'm not smoking the weed here. I smoked it wherever, and I just happen to have this smell on me, right? I could see how she rationalized that as a young person and really thinks it's okay.
But why would you want to go to the school high?
What I'm trying to say to you,
why am I going to see elementary school kids high?
And I'm telling you why. Because some people, including some adults that we are friends with, they smoke weed every second of the day.
But that's why they don't go to school. right? They
When
don't
they
go to the
school and pick up their kids,
They
or
don't
go to events and functions, and they smell like weed everywhere they go. Like, that's a real thing.
Listen.
I have.
Don't smell like weed going to.
I'm not saying that it's right.
Don't
so I
do
just
it.
want to be very clear that I'm saying no. You don't go to a school event or go to a school to see children smelling like you smoke weed, or
Smelling like
or
gank.
smelling like liquor, or
Smelling
any
like
of
gank.
that. I totally agree with you. I'm just saying these young kids, they think different.
Nah, but I wouldn't even. That's not some shit that. Why are you gonna come to the internet and tell us that? Like, we supposed to be on your side. Sexy, we wasn't on your side. When you got out the car and you saw talking about they won't let you in and you smell like weed and the kids want to see you, no, we wasn't on your side.
But you know, the funny
We
thing
thought it was
about it
stupid.
is that if you look at the comment section for some things, like I was looking at the comment section of some stuff on the Shade Room the other day, we living in 2, 3, 4 different worlds.
But the comment
Because
section is not real life.
very same thing. No, I mean,
I'm trying to tell y'all.
the very same thing that I see people posting. Like, for instance, you know how you post something, or like something will happen, and it's posted on every blog. Every blog has a different type of audience based upon what they've cultivated. So when you go to the Baller Alert comment section, when they post the same thing that was posted on the Shade Room,
There's a different
same thing
response.
posted on Hollywood Unlocked, it's different types of people in all these places. So when Sexy Red posts that, she has an audience that's like, I can't believe that happened to you.
That's crazy.
And meanwhile,
And that audience right there is very scary to me.
It's true, but I'm just saying it's very different, because I was looking at something the other day, and I looked at Baller Alert's comment section on it, and you could see, honestly, a much more professional and, just a different mindset on how they responded, how the comment section there was. It was like you could go in there and have some conversations. Then I was in the Shade Room comment, same post, and it was like, yo, what? Whoa, I'm not writing anything over here, because I know whenever I go in the Shade Room, I already know I gotta go in there ready to duke it out, or you just gotta put your shit up there and let it go. So I think all of them are important, because in the moments when there's information that needs to get out there, when everybody is aligned and we push messaging together, because we have seen them do that sometimes, even though they still don't do it enough. But when they do push that messaging, you know that all different types of people are getting the information. And so, I think it's important to have all these different outlets, but it's different types of people. And I think Sexy Red is in an echo chamber with people who really do agree and support her on most of the things that she's saying.
Good luck. We've come to the end of the road.
Although we've come.
That's right. To the end of the road, the end of another show.
Good show.
Shout out to all our guests. Kendra G, we appreciate you. Shout out to our fans for making us the number one podcast.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
The number one
We're
podcast
in this
in the
bonding.
world.
What is it? It is the bonding of the sexes, and we're going to keep uncovering every week. So
every
hopefully
week.
folks
It's going to
will
be
stick with
dope. It's going to be dope. I love the energy so far. I'm looking forward to the next episode. We appreciate y'all. If you have any ideas, send them to TMI.
Yep.
Let us know what you don't like, what you do like.
Show.
The show.
No, it's not the show. It's TMI
_ show. TMI _ show. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
That's how we own it. That's how we own it. That's how we own it. Oh, that's how we own it.
Check out the video version of TMI.
Every single Wednesday on iWoman.tv.